Once the desire arises, we become a slave to them. It's just that we say, oh, these are my desires. How are these your desires when you never desired them? Do we desire our desires? No, they just come. And where do they come from? They come from influences, they come from conditioning, and they arise from the bodily configuration. And once they arise, we act as if we own them. We say, oh, this is my desire. And then we run after those desires. And 1,000 others are running after the same desires. And if we succeed in the competition, we say we are special. No, we are not. Can you question desire itself? And when you question desire itself, then you learn the right desire. And that's where joy is. That's where the highest pleasure is. What we are taking today from the Chandogya Upanishad includes one of the most famous verses from the entire Vedantic corpus. Sarvam khalvidam Brahma. All this is Brahma. All this is Brahma. Verily, all this universe is Brahma. From him do all things originate, into him do they dissolve, and by him are they sustained. On him should one meditate in tranquility. For as is one's faith, such indeed one is, and as is one's faith in this world, such one becomes on departing hence. Let one therefore cultivate faith. All this is Brahma. This statement holds meaning only in the backdrop of what we hold all this to usually mean. When you look at this and that, here and there, inside and outside, you see things, you see objects, you see people, you see meanings. This is what the sage is denying here. No, things are not what they appear to be, and things are not distinct from each other. One, things are not what you think they are. Sarvam khalvidam Brahm, verily all this universe is Brahm alone. Whatever you look at, do not think of that as an objective truth. The pillar in front of your eyes, the man and the woman walking out there, this body that you claim to own, everything that can be there in your mental field, do not think of it as an independent, absolute, objective entity. It does not exist that way. Neither are things anything that you can otherwise take them to be. First thing, things are not what they appear to you. And second thing, things are also not anything you can imagine them to be. and things are not distinct or separate from each other. One thing in its reality is not separate from another thing. All this is Brahma. This is not how it seems, and this is not diversified at all. The very basis of one's existence is being challenged. We cannot exist without calling ourselves as differentiated from the other's body. If you are sitting on a chair, you cannot exist without calling yourself as separate from the chair you are sitting on. The very basis of our existence is being challenged because this very basis that sustains our existence is also the basis of our suffering. What is being given to us is not so much of a truth, it is much more of a remedy. We are being given a medicine, and the medicine does not work if you just analyze it as a concept. You can keep the medicine in front of you and conduct experiments to know its chemical composition. And you have known a lot about the medicine. You know its molecular weight, you know what all is it's a mixture of. 1,000 things you know about the medicine. The medicine does not work that way. Knowledge may work that way, not medicines. It works when you meditate on what is being said, and therefore the verse emphasizes so much on meditation. And the second thing the verse emphasizes on is faith, because this meditation is going to be hurtful. This meditation may set you against the one who encourages you to meditate. Now you also know why the Shanti part of the Upanishads prays that the teacher may not start hating or disliking or abhorring the disciple, and vice versa. Because the teacher runs a huge risk by saying to the student what is being said in the verse here. What cannot be communicated in words is being attempted by the teacher. And it extracts a lot from the teacher. And the teacher also knows that the possibility of miscommunication, misinterpretation is large. The teacher also knows that to speak to the student, he must retain within himself a bit of what makes the student a student. Unless the teacher carries within himself a part of the ignorance that the student carries a lot of, he can be of no use to the student. And if the teacher carries that, then that same ignorance can turn the teacher against the student.
and the problems at the student's end are far easier to see. The student's very existence is being demolished. It would rather be a surprise if the student does not start hating the teacher. In fact, if the teacher is real, it will be impossible for the student to not to hate him, at least occasionally. So faith is needed, a lot of faith is needed. If you meditate on these words, there would be an instant recoil, because you will be threatened. Then the only thing that can save you is faith. Once it has been averred, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, then only these two remain, meditation and faith. Meditation, so that the essence of these words may indeed reach you, and faith, so that you may not run away when that essence reaches you. If you don't meditate, you will remain safe. You will just keep parroting Sarvadam Khalvidam Braham, Sarvadam Khalvidam Braham, without ever letting the medicine act on you. But if you only meditate without faith, then your meditation cannot last. Very soon it will become clear to you that you are entering into something tremendously dangerous, and then you will quit. Meditators without faith quit just too easily. They cannot survive the demands that reality poses. From him do all things originate, into him do they dissolve, and by him are they sustained. This meditation itself is the door to Brahma. The world is a lack of understanding. Meditation is the entry into understanding. The more you understand, the more you find that your universe is being dissolved. At the physical level, you will probably still see differences, but the meanings that these differences used to carry will steadily drop. The eyes will see the wall and the window, but the wall is just the wall, the window is just the window. The wall and the window are just the eye, nothing more. It's all gone, dissolved. The eye is looking at the wall, the eye is looking at the window. The window and the wall and the eye are just one. The differences are gone, dissolved. That dissolution is Brahma. And if you ever inquire into where those differences came from, it will be clear to you that those differences among things cannot come from the things themselves. The things are the differences, but the things are not the source of the differences. You meditate on the source of the differences. You do not come to the source. However, a great things happen. The great thing is that the things themselves dissolve. That dissolution is again Brahman. You want to check the reality of things, things dissolve. You want to check the origination, the genesis of things, things again dissolve. Therefore, all things come from Brahman and all things recede, dissolve into Brahman. What makes things sustain? What makes the world run? Because the sustenance of the world is actually the movement of the world. The world does not exist as a thing, the world exists as a flux, a movement. What makes the world move? What is the engine of the world? The engine of the world is your thirst for Brahman. Brahman makes the world move. Otherwise, why would the bird sing? Why would the man look? Why would the woman desire? Why would the kid run? Why would you wake up each morning? Why would you say? Why would you hear? Brahma makes the world run. So together it all means Brahma is where it all comes from. Brahma is what makes it run, and into Brahma it all dissolves. Now meditate on this. Meditate on this not in the sense that you want to know what Brahma is. Meditate on how you were fooled so easily and for so long. And we said it won't be easy because it hurts. It hurts the very basis of your existence. So have faith. Faith that you won't disappear as a result of this meditation. That truth is not dangerous. That there is no real need to continue being who you are. Have faith. For as is one's faith, such indeed one is. You are no different than the quality of your faith. If your faith is so flimsy that it requires an object to trust, then just as objects are ephemeral, objects come and go, your trust too will be very fragile. Whereas if you have a faith that requires nothing of this world to rest on, a reasonless faith, only then will you have the courage to keep moving into the depths of truth, where the path keeps getting progressively narrower and narrower, and not even your own personality can pass through. The only way then to move ahead is to become smaller. Reduce and rise. Reduce and rise. Reduce and rise. Why will you reduce if reduction means disappearance? Why will you disappear if your false existence is all you think you have? Why would you call your existence as false if you have never meditated on it? Don't meditate on the truth, meditate on yourself, meditate on your life. Start by thinking about these things. Then let thought go deeper into contemplation. That becomes meditation. Meditation, if allowed to go deep, becomes one pointed attention, and that's where understanding blossoms. You'll be able to go till that point only if you're not afraid. For as is one's faith, such indeed one is, and as is one's faith in this world, such one becomes on departing hence. The thing in this world, the object in this world that you have greatest trust upon, that you have greatest affinity to, becomes the center of your life. The previous center departs, and the new center is the object you were holding most dearly to your chest. Therefore, in this world, be very careful about the objects you think a lot of, you feel most attracted to. In general, all objects are unreliable. Therefore, if you have to attach yourself to an object, attach yourself to the one object that honestly speaks to you of its unreliability. In the world, if you have to place something very near to yourself, rather at your center, then choose with wisdom and discretion the thing that will be honest enough to tell you that it is merely a thing. Thing that will not come and stick to your insides, rather thing that will come to your insides, look at all that is accumulated there and tell you, all this is false, and equally I am false. Let all this vanish, and let me vanish as well. Such one becomes on departing hence. We are not talking of physical death here. We are talking of the constant change in one's center. You act as somebody in one moment, the next moment you are the thing you have been so covetous of. And new identity itself is born. So be very careful about the things you look at, the things you give importance to. Let one therefore cultivate faith. Nothing is going to be possible without fearlessness. And in the worlds of objects alone, there is nothing but fear. Faith is the antidote to fear. Reasonless faith. Just as fear comes to you without your permission, there should be faith without your permission. Just as you do not know where fear comes from, even though fear does come from a very definite point, you should also not know where your faith comes from. Somebody asks you, what is your faith? You should not know. Somebody asks you, why are you so faithful? You should not know. You should just not know. You should fall silent. And if you are pressed too much to tell, how come you have such a deep faith? You should feel perplexed. Because this faith is not yours. This faith has nothing to do with your personality or your ego. Had it come from a point in your ego, it would have pointed towards something in the field of your ego. And if you have faith on something in the field of your ego, it will not help the ego. Therefore, it is very important that faith must be reasonless, baseless, objectless. It has to be really a blind faith. What you usually call blind faith is mere superstition, blind belief. In belief, there is an object. Therefore, What you call as blind belief is not totally blind. It is just purblind or semi-blind. What we require is a totally blind faith. Mark you, totally. Totally. Semi-blind faith is very, very dangerous. It is superstition. The moment faith becomes totally blind, it assumes an altogether different quality. In fact, it is not possible for a normal human being to have blind faith. Usually we accuse people of being blindly faithful. The accusation is an impossibility. When you say somebody has blind faith, it is actually a commendation. It is a big token of praise. Do not say this thing casually about someone. Do you understand what we mean by blind faith? Blind faith is the refusal to absolutely trust anything in this world. That is blind faith. Do not think of blind faith in terms of what it rests upon. Think of blind faith in terms of what it does not rest upon. When you just refuse to take anything seriously beyond a point, including your own thoughts, emotions, everything, that is blind faith. When you have the guts to carry on without the support, the backing of anything in the universe, that is blind faith. When you do not know neither the beginning nor the end of what you are doing, and still you know that this is what needs to be done, that is blind faith, and that is very, very unusual. That is very rare. 1 in a million can afford to have blind faith. It is the highest compliment you can offer somebody, that man has blind faith. Are you getting it? But that does not mean that you turn superstitious. Blind faith is not an absence of inquiry. Blind faith is the willingness to inquire into everything. This is blind faith. I will not let anything escape the test of inquiry. Anything. I will have that courage to question even the, as we have said, the basis of existence. That is blind faith. Therefore, cultivate faith. How does one cultivate faith? The process is in negativa. Start getting rid of your supports one by one. You cannot cultivate faith. You can decultivate your lack of faith. It is your lack of faith that compels you to rely on this or that in the world. Therefore, how do you rediscover your faith? By giving up your reliance on stuff in the world. Progressively start reducing your reliance on stuff in the world and see what it does to you. You are afraid if you do not rely, you will be harmed. See whether you are harmed or raised. Try, check, experiment. This willingness to ruthlessly experiment is blind faith.
Namaste, Acharya. So my question is like regarding on the lines of faith and right action, which you tend to focus a lot on right action. So whenever we tend to take take a decision regarding right action, now mind keeps on asking proof that I will be fine, whether I will be fine or not if I do this action. It keeps on asking for closure, proof, and honestly, many a times in right action, it is very difficult to provide a valid proof that yes, 100% sure you will be fine. And this fear, uncertainty, that will I be fine if I do this thing or not, is the perhaps the doubt which Kabir Sahib also says that keep away. This doubt itself is the root cause of evil, which perhaps keeps the faith away. Can you throw some light on it?
All I can say is try. Fear tells you a story, right? We can verify at least whether the story is real. Fear tells you this is what you will lose, and if you lose this, you will not be able to survive. You will not be able to bear the loss. Check whether, first of all, the thing you are losing is the thing fear is suggesting you. Secondly, check whether the loss is indeed painful. It is possible that the loss is not too painful. In fact, it is possible that the loss is blissful, but you would never come to know of that if you do not experiment. Have the courage to at least start experimenting in bits. Maybe you cannot take huge risks given your current condition, but a little bit. Start from where you are.
Yes. So it might be the case that the loss may be real, but the amplitude of loss may not be as what the mind is
The
suggesting.
definition of the loss might not be what the story is suggesting. You are being told that the loss would hurt a lot. In fact, loss by definition is something that hurts. What would you say about the kind of loss that does not hurt, instead relieves you? Would you still call it loss? These things have to be tested.
And loss, then in what terms are we talking loss? Loss, it can be mostly bodies. When it says loss, it means loss of health, loss of finances, only of those things lost, right?
Anything that you consider valuable.
Wherever my ego has got attached to and it seems valuable.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Pranam Acharya ji.
Ji.
The question was that you just said, be careful of the objects of the world, and if you have to surround yourself, what I heard was that surround yourself with the one that are openly unreliable. So what I understood from that was the more you expose yourself to the objects of the world that are unreliable, and you do that proactively, you are basically, I can use that as a technique for gradual disillusionment with the objects of the world. Now, the question there kind of comes to mind is, I find myself to be most unreliable. My mind that always tells me, I have begun to kind of doubt myself more than I used to. It is always telling me things that are not good for me. So why do I have to really go for any further than myself looking for unreliable objects? It's not a question, but if you say something about it.
Eureka. If you can see that the most unreliable one is within, jackpot.
It is not always, but at times I get glimpses. It is not a constant thing. I do rely on myself also. but at times I realize that I am just deceiving myself. A little explanation of when you say objects of the world that are openly unreliable. Did that also mean like what Nietzsche says, live dangerously? And you were talking about experimentation a little while back. So putting two and two together, it is like expose yourself to uh, openly a little bit dangerous situations in which you know you will not succeed.
See, there are many objects in the world. Let's say we are specifically talking of people here, conscious entities, that have a stake in promising you of their reliability. That's what you have to be cautious of. When I said it is all right or rather beneficial to be with objects that are openly unreliable, that's what I meant. Everything is unreliable, but most things have a stake in concealing that they are unreliable. It's far better to be in the company of someone who exposes the unreliability of everything, including the one who is exposing, including the one to whom all this is being exposed.
Thank you.
Acharya. I have a sort of a follow-up question on this discussion. So we were discussing that, we were explaining that blind faith, real blind faith is when you are not trusting anything, essentially, including yourself, including the world, everything. But at our level, we have to trust the words of the Guru. So is it that if you are trusting, if you have to trust someone, trust the words of the Guru and nothing else?
No, nothing.
So in the world, do we just trust the words of the Guru and nothing else?
That is why you do not benefit much from the Guru, because you trust his words. Trusting is such a lazy business, no? I don't need to get close to what is being said. I don't need to examine it. I just need to take it on face value and let it be. Oh, something has been said, fine, it is coming from the Guru, it must be all right. This is a clear lack of love and engagement. The Guru should be the last person you should trust. His words are there to ignite inquiry in you. And instead of being full of inquisitiveness, you rather turn dull and let his words pass you without any meaningful interaction. It is an inner ploy against the truth. The Guru's words are meant to be examined. You have to be with them, you have to sit with them, you have to meditate on them. If your self so wants, then you have to rebel against them, you have to be furiously, militantly in opposition of them. Even that is better than passively accepting them. I have often said that why don't you go and wrestle with the rishis instead of offering this false respect. Why don't you openly oppose them? That would be a far truer tribute to them, because you would at least be going close, you would at least be truly engaging with them. But we don't even resist them. Partly because we know that resistance would mean engagement, and engagement means intimacy, and intimacy means the death of the ego. So what do? We just offer shallow respect. We say, these are the words from the Guru or the great scriptures, so we will not touch them. We have made the scriptures untouchables. So we worship them, but don't allow them to touch our core. What the Guru is saying is totally against your life, and still you are not questioning the Guru. Don't you see what you are doing? You are saying, let the Guru say whatever he says. It doesn't matter to me. Had it mattered to you, you would have questioned him. Instead, you allow the Guru to go on and on and on from some podium, and the entire crowd of devotees, 2,000 of them, are listening, and yes, it's coming from the heavens. It merely means there is no relationship. There is no relationship at all, because the only true relationship between the teacher and the disciple has to start from resistance. Things like acceptance or devotion or surrender come much later, much later. The first thing has to be honest resistance. But there is no resistance. Or if there is resistance, then there is very sick kind of resistance. There is no healthy inquiry. No healthy inquiry. If what you are saying is this, then how come this is that? That is not happening. Especially in the Indian context, it befuddles me that in the land of the Upanishads, where the entire style is conversational, how did preaching become a business? Where are the dialogues? Long monologues. Who gets helped? In fact, you get dulled down, because to pass through that monologue, you will have to kill your curiosity. Somebody is saying one thing after the other, one thing after the other, without giving you an opportunity to express your side or to ask a question. You are just supposed to be a passive receiver. This thing that we are talking of cannot be received in a passive way. It can be received only in love. And love abhors fakeness. When the reality is that the teachings do not sync with your life, then why do you sit silently when the teachings are uttered? Your life is a proof that you do not like the teachings. Had you really liked the teachings, they would have shown up in your life. But look at your life and look at the teachings. There is no commonality, and still you happily sit through long discourses without uttering a word. Is that not hypocrisy? I have been speaking to young people over the last 10-15 years, and part of my mission is to encourage them to oppose me. And this is not just coming from my vanity, that irrespective of how much they oppose me, I will still be the conqueror. Nothing of that. This is the basic requirement. This is the fundamental spiritual etiquette.
But Acharya, even to know this, know what you're saying, one has to go to the Guru and gives us and give a certain importance to its words. Right? So one has to put the Guru at a higher pedestal than oneself, even to know the fact that one has to oppose the Guru. Or
One has to give,
not take it at the face value.
one has to give reality. But if you stay with the teacher for long years, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, without ever having honestly engaged, without ever having honestly and openly resisted, you get nothing. Remember, when we talk of the teacher and the disciple, the fact is that fundamentally the disciple has to be in acute resistance against the teacher. Otherwise, why is he the disciple? The disciple is the ego. Classically, the teacher is the truth. How can the ego be so easily in love with the truth? How can the ego so easily surrender to the truth? And if the ego is offering easy surrender, then this is just false surrender. This is mock surrender. This is deceptive surrender. You are surrendering just too easily so that you don't have to surrender really.
So essentially, surrendering will begin with resistance.
Obviously, you offer resistance and then you see whether the other can overpower you. And if the other can overpower and overwhelm you, then you surrender, and that's fair. Fair enough. There was a good fight and the loser surrendered. But how can you surrender without a fight? Then you are not surrendering. Then you are just deceiving the other so that you may not have to surrender.
But one does know somewhere that this path of resistance is going to lead to surrender.
Therefore, one does not resist, because if one resists, one will have to surrender. If you openly fight with the teacher, you are afraid you will be defeated. So you prefer mock surrender. You say, if I openly fight, I will be defeated. So I will display false surrender, and that way I will remain safe. You know, that way not only do you remain safe, but also the false teacher remains safe. Because you are not quarreling, not wrestling with him. So his hollowness is not being exposed. Have a good fight, knock him on the face. Good for you if he crumbles. You have been saved from a false guru.
Thank you, Ajay.
Acharya ji, we heard in the verse today that the way we are seeing the things are not in reality. The way we are seeing it, it is not the reality. Right? For the things. The classic example which is used in Vedanta is that of a snake and rope, that we see a snake in the rope. So my question is that suppose there is a rope, but somehow I'm seeing a snake in it, but I'm being told that it's not a snake, it's a rope, but still I'm seeing a snake in it. So I want to know how this intellectual adjustment can help me seeing the things as they are.
Pick up a stick and poke it a little. You know stick, and you also know how to poke. So stay at a safe distance. Who knows, it might be a real snake. Pick up a long stick, long enough to keep you safe, and poke. Or get a water sprinkler, pichkari, and throw some water from a distance. If it is snake, it will stand up and hiss. Lot of things can be done. That's called experimentation against blind belief.
Yes, but my question is that that state really can be achieved by these intellectual adjustment and thought process and the knowledge which we hear. That
Experiment, try, test, inquire. Too much? Observe. If it's a snake, it can't lie still for 2 hours flat. Just observe.
okay, and we hear that the oneness between the two people. There is no distinct two people exist in reality. There is only oneness. So I want to know how to approach that also.
No, you cannot approach oneness, but you can approach the falseness of distinctions.
Is the falseness, how we can even start with that?
You have curiosity, I have curiosity, so the distinction is falsified? No. You don't want to be caged, I don't want to be caged, so the distinction is falsified? No. The deeper you go into individual consciousness, differences disappear and similarities emerge. At the surface level, there are only dissimilarities. You are a woman, I am a man, you have long hair, I don't have that long hair. Your skin complexion is different from mine, your name is different from mine, your age is different, everything is different. Superficially, everything is different. Bodily, a lot is different. You go into the mind, and that's when similarities start appearing. You go deeper and similarities turn into oneness.
So Acharya, is this similarity is the same which we are talking, is that the atrupti जिसके लिए सब बेचैन है, is that the same similarity?
Good, yes. But don't rush to that conclusion. That conclusion must be attained, not borrowed. You must let that conclusion emerge from your own observation. So, observe the world, and if you are observing keenly enough, maybe you will start seeing a lot more similarities than you currently do.
And Acharya, in first session of this first part of this session, we heard that Maya is sitting in each one of us, and which sets our goal and which makes us run after it. We were talking that, and in this verse we heard that it is Brahma only. It is Brahma because of whom the world moves. So I see a conflict in that.
Maya looking at itself is Maya, right? Brahma looking at itself is Brahma. Maya does not exist for Brahma. Maya exists only to itself. All this, when you say, is Maya, when you say all this is Maya, all this is Maya, right? Then it is to Maya that all this is Maya. The scriptures say both the things, don't they? On one hand, they say all this is Maya, Jagat Mithya. On the other hand, they also say all this is Brahm. So you should be puzzled. How is it that the scriptures are saying both the things? Depends on you. If you are Maya, then all this is Maya. If you are Brahm, then all this is Brahm.
So Acharya, also I want to know that from whom the Maya gets strength.
From whom the Maya gets
Strength.
lack of attention.
Is it our cooperation also?
You cooperate by not choosing to attend, to focus. When you are more interested in the surface of things than in their reality, then you do not know the truth. That is Maya.
So in this verse, it is mentioned that on him should one meditate in tranquility. So I was wondering, why was this word tranquility is used? Maybe because, for example,
Why were?
why was the word tranquility used in the verse? Because perhaps my explanation is that because, for example, if you try to see our face in a water which is quite turbulent, we cannot see through clearly.
Good, good, good. That's also a classical analogy from Vedanta. That if the water has waves or ripples, then you cannot see the moon's reflection very clearly, so the water has to be still. Yeah, that's classical Vedanta.
So perhaps that means that we need a certain atmosphere to better understand and grow, because our external situations can in fact impact us to think properly, to grow also.
Good, 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 good.
Okay. Okay, so that especially might be an indication towards people around us, situations around us, work around us, all of those things.
Good. And if you continue down this line, you will come to something dangerous.
Okay, maybe what like Vikram sir was explaining before about my mind itself. Maybe.
I don't know. You have to figure out for yourself.
So, at least, yeah. Okay, then I will try to understand more then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Acharya ji. So we said that to know the oneness between the two people, we can see the similarity in them and discard the differences, like that. So one of the point which came to my mind was that the feeling of that recklessness, that atrupti, that That can be a common thing. But we see some people around us, many people, in fact, 99%, that hunger for knowing the truth is completely missing in the people. So how we can correlate on that basis? I want to know.
No, the love for truth is there. It's just that they convince themselves that they already have it. It's not that they don't want the truth. They convince themselves that they already have the truth. And they would therefore avoid all situations where it is exposed that they are living falsely. And hence they will avoid Vedanta in particular, because Vedanta becomes dangerous.
And is it that we should also avoid such people?
We should also,
Avoid such people.
it depends on your strength and resolution. If you can be a doctor to the sick one, approach him. But if the sick one is going to infect you back, then probably it's not the right time yet.
Yes, and many times the sick one doesn't know they are sick.
They don't know that they are sick and they spread the infection around. But still, if you can have the knowledge and the compassion of a doctor, do approach them.
Yes, that was my question. Thank you, Acharya.
Ajay, had a small query on the previous discussion on tranquility that we had. So is this definition of tranquility completely different from external tranquility that we generally define?
Includes both.
Is this internal tranquility?
Your internal tranquility is still very dependent on external situations. Therefore, you cannot have internal tranquility without bothering for your situations. So, it includes both. You are still not where you can be tranquil irrespective of the situations. You have to be particular about the situations as well.
Yes. But the way we generally define tranquility is, where there is, not much thought, or it's a externally peaceful place. Whereas, I mean, we have also discussed this earlier a lot of times, and you have mentioned it, that you can be internally peaceful and tranquil even in a situation of, let's say, high stress.
That is
Or
an achievement. That is a potential possibility, but that is not the reality of most people. Most people are just too vulnerable to their surroundings, to their environment. Therefore, the environment must be taken care of. Rare is the one who can maintain his internal tranquility irrespective of the environment. But that is the objective. That is where we all must reach. But you cannot reach there if you do not take care of your environment. Therefore, take care of your environment even if you want to become free of the environment. If you want to gain freedom from circumstances, ensure that you are firstly choosing the right circumstances for yourself to the extent you can choose.
Yes. But coming back to the word tranquility, when people in the common parlance they think of tranquility, they imagine a place where there will be not much activity in a general sense, when people go and a lot of things are happening recently also in the name of spirituality. People are just going towards inactivity. So I was just trying to understand that the relationship between tranquility and intense activity. So is the tranquility as mentioned in the Upanishad? If we think of it in external sense, would it more be a place of intense activity, uh, or would it be a place where there is not much activity and just inactivity, or
It has
picturesque place or something like that?
it has to be a place that supports inner tranquility. That inner tranquility cannot come from just false tranquility on the outside. Inner tranquility is a real thing, right? To have inner tranquility, you will need sometimes an environment of intense activity, but then that activity has to be of the right kind. Sometimes you will need an environment where you can just sit and reflect and watch and this thing. But the real thing is that the environment must be conducive to your mind coming to reality. Tranquility without reality is just stupor. It is a state of being drugged. It is just loss of consciousness. It is sleepiness, tranquility without reality. Getting it? So, in the sense in which tranquility word comes here, it means a state in which you are not attracted by nonsense. Falseness does not matter too much to you. That is what tranquil means here. Disturbing elements, elements of no value, are either not present, or even if they are present, you can see through their falseness and hence give very little value to them.
Thank you, Acharya.
Pranam, Acharya ji. So, Acharya ji, we heard that Maya don't exist in Brahma. But we here discussing about Brahma. Can we call it as a rare situation where Maya is actually glorifying a Brahma? Actually, I want to ask that, is it that Maya helps us to walk on the path of truth, or is it that it always opposes and it want to keep us entangled and in ignorance? Because we have heard that we are unfulfilled, मतलब एक अतृप्त चेतना है हम, जो पूर्णता मांगती है. ये तो सबके लिए रियलिटी है एक्चुअली, बट वी सी वेरी फ्यू पीपल वॉक ऑन दिस पाथ. तो मतलब जो थोड़े से लोग इस मार्ग पे चल रहे हैं, उनको भी कौन प्रेरणा देता है? Who inspires them also?
It's a decision. It's a sovereign decision. You have to decide. There are some things you cannot depend on others for. Somewhere you have to own the responsibility. It's a choice that you make. If you say the choice is inspired by others, then the same inspiration is available to others as well, but they don't make that choice. So, there is no explanation. The only answer is its choice. At some point you have to say yes or no, you have to make a declaration.
Yes, that was my question. Thank you, Acharya.
Pranam Acharya. Acharya, could you elaborate a little when you say do experiments? What exactly does that mean?
We have a lot of knowledge in the mind. There are sentences that we take to be the truth. So, just a little playfulness with those sentences. Right? This is this way, that is x, this is y. X comes from t, z is bigger than y. A is the same as c. All these things sit very deeply in our minds, unchallenged, unexamined. So, can we just withdraw the respect for a while and be a little playful? That is all.
So, means when we catch our thought process, then questioning really like where it is coming from.
You don't even have to catch, Vatsalaji. You already know. No? There are certain things that we follow as principles. There are certain things we take as facts. There are certain stories we deeply believe in. So you already know of those things. It's not as if you have to make a fresh catch. Even if you don't catch them freshly, you still know of them. So why not put them in the dock for once? Why not withdraw the authority that they carry for a while? Why not engage playfully with them and ask them a few nice questions? And why not pick them out if they are revealed to be false?
So, when I say catch, Acharya, what I mean is that we have things running in our minds, right? So, when you become aware, and then you realize that these are assumptions, and then you question. But when you say that we need not catch, it is already there, does that mean sit and think about all your assumptions?
Obviously, you see, the things that circulate in your mind are anyway not fresh, right? It's just the old past thoughts, conclusions, memories recycling and regurgitating themselves. So, whether you catch them afresh or whether you pick them from the old storehouse of memory, it's much the same thing. What's of importance is examination.
Also, Acharya, like things that we examine, like for example, in our day-to-day interactions, we come across a lot of falsenesses. In the sense, you to some extent see the falseness behind certain things, events, and all that. Now, question is that seeing it many a times, does that should it make you dispassionate? And when I use the word dispassionate, I'm using it in a negative sense, meaning little lack of liveliness. In that sense, is if that is what happens, then is it okay? Not good? Something is missing?
No, it's just that when you really watch falseness and disown and get dispassionate, then you find a lot of free space released. Had you really discarded nonsense, then you wouldn't have reserved the free space for some old thing as if secretly waiting for the past to return. You would have made the freshly released space available to newer opportunities and possibilities. Think of a room where all kind of junk is stashed. Now you clear away the junk and you just let the room remain vacant without allowing any meaningful thing to enter it. Do you see what the tendencies are secretly doing? They are saying we have released the junk, but we are also not allowing something new to come. In some sense, we are secretly waiting for the junk to return, because nothing new is going to be allowed anyway. Only the junk then can possibly return. If nothing new comes in, then what is the only possibility left? One day the junk will make its way back into the room. So, this dispassion has to be accompanied or followed by a renewal. Otherwise, there is just unnecessary barrenness, which is a very needless thing in the life of the true seeker. Because what the true seeker deserves more than anybody else is a joyful, blissful life, because she has paid the price for it. Now it's a double whammy of sorts, to pay the price and still not find the goods delivered. Why must one let that happen? Now that the price has been paid, let the goods be delivered, please open the gates. Life is much more than what we can think of. And if you will restrict life to the possibilities you can imagine, then it is a very, very narrow restriction, right? And this situation is not new. It has been happening since centuries. Those who follow the path of neti neti often find themselves in this place, because by habit you just become a rejecter. You kind of forget that remaining open to the new is as important as clearing away the junk of the past. And if you don't remain open to the new, the past has not really been cleared away. Right? So, that rejuvenation must be allowed, must be welcomed. You cannot have a half cleaned room. You cannot have a situation where things are gone, but their memory hasn't. The memory is the thing.
So, okay. So you're saying the lack of, maybe passion might not be the right word, a certain liveliness, right? So are you implying that lacking that liveliness is actually missing out on the things that have been rejected?
Obviously, it is a state of mourning. Don't you see what the hidden self is doing? It is in a state of mourning. And if it is in that state, what has been cleared or disowned? Nothing. Therefore, the process of cleansing is complete only with a rejuvenation.
And how I'm blocking the rejuvenation is a matter of further meditation.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now there is progress.
Thank you, Acharya.